Okay, hello. I've been visiting Tadioto for so many times, but I haven't seen you. So let's start with our first fireside chat. So our topic today is the Vietnam rising F&B scene, and we are looking for a case study. And I think the best way to predict what the rising trend would be is actually to look into the history of how we have been doing it and pick up the insight from it. So can you share with us a little bit that how long have you been doing F&B?
Well, let me first thank everybody and thank you all for inviting me, for Han, etc., for inviting me. And I'm astonished to be invited because I'm not a food and beverage person, really, although I do have restaurants and bars. So where do we start?
Okay, let's start with the introduction. Why do you think you're not a food and beverage person?
Because I was not trained to work in food and beverage. It came to me as a chance thing. I didn't know what else to do with my life. I was always sitting in bars, so I thought I'd just open one to drink with friends. And I have a lot of friends who are alcoholic, and that's where we started.
And then it kept going.
Yeah, it just took over my life. And the thing that I say is that you never own a bar owns you. And I believe that if you're in food and beverage, if you don't let the place own you, you can't do it.
Okay, so let it goes on. How long have you been doing F&B? How long have it been ever since you opened your first bar?
I started Tadioto in 2007, in the very end of 2007, and I've kept it going. I'm actually surprised that we've survived up to today. And then
so it means seven
opens different ones. I think it's the effect of alcohol in my hearing.
Because the bar really owns you.
Yeah.
And what did it cost you over the year?
Cost me? I don't know. My liver seems to be fine. But that's because I haven't been to a doctor yet. The way I do business is this. I talk to the accountant and I say, what are the losses for this month? And I can see if I can sustain the losses. And that's what costs me. It's the losses.
And that what kept you going for 17 years with Tadioto. You said you opened in 2007, right? And was that before or after the Zone 9 complex?
That was way before Zone 9. Zone 9 was a lot later. Tadioto started with Vien in 2007, kept on for a while. And then I'd moved a couple of times before joining the friends at Tadioto, at Zone 9.
And Zone 9 was a whole different concept.
It was. I don't know that it was a concept. It was somebody found this great old building, and then we found out about it through him, and we all came and joined, and we asked different friends to come. And it was very spontaneous. It was not something organized. It was not something allowed. It just happened.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but I think being spontaneous is actually the key that lead to Zone 9 success. Because after Zone 9, I saw many complexes come and go, and I don't see another one that achieved the success, the traffic, the attention that Zone 9 got at the time. And I honestly believe that you didn't plan for it. You just opened it because it's fit with the place that you got.
That's true. The spontaneity of Zone 9 was a lot of different people coming together. The problem with that was, like it happened in London and San Francisco and Beijing, where you don't have any plans, and so different people came in with different purposes and different attitudes. It was successful for the first few months, and then it just became a little bit of a chaotic place. But it attracted a lot of people. It attracted diplomats, visitors from overseas, and certainly local people. And then it attracted the attention of the business community and the government.
I agree. And the diversity in that is actually what I have never seen in any other complex that have been organized. So do you think it's possible to actually plan for a complex in Vietnam F&B scene?
Well, it's actually very sad to see that after 6 months, we had to close down and we had to leave Zone 9. And then since then, Zone 9 has just stayed empty, never developed into anything else. We could have really developed it, worked out our problems, and carried on, but it's still empty now. I think with organizing, it depends on the situation in Vietnam, and some of it is being organized. What I fear is the business interest and the government interest in organizing and controlling such kind of places, and at the cost of artistic and food and beverage experiences.
And so you have been having Tadioto for 17 years now. And do you observe the difference in the wave of customers that comes and go into your bar? Because the way I see it is that when you actively have a nightlife, that nightlife usually have an expiration date. Until at some point you stop coming into a bar, you stop coming into a pub, and then a new wave of customer comes. So do you see that in your bar?
It's a very thoughtful question. I think about it a lot, because the customers do change. And the mistake that I made in the very beginning was to rely on my friends that are alcoholic, who just wants to drink with me. And I never thought about how to develop a clientele that would be the right clientele, if I may say that. But the customers change. And over 17 years, a number of things happened. Those who came to Tadioto at the very beginning didn't have too many places to come in those days. There were very few bars. So I was lucky that I opened it at that point with the sort of sensibility that I brought to it, I think, from traveling around the world, watching what else people were doing. But then I never learned to develop new clientele, and people change. And those who were there at the very beginning are now my age or a bit older, a bit younger. They stay home more, they don't go out to bars more. And I never really anticipated that I had to welcome new customers. And over the years, I've seen those customers change. Waves of tourists come and go, and waves of people. With young people, they're always looking for the next exciting place, the next meeting place that's happening. And so to maintain a good place is difficult. In those days, in the early days, we had people who came every night, and there was something happening at Tadioto. There were always somebody that you could meet, you could talk projects and stuff. Now people come and they talk less, they stay on the phone, they use new social media to communicate, not talking in the bar. So I have to learn those things still.
I have two questions for you to follow up with that. First is what did you do to cope with the change at the current time when you see that, your friends start staying home more? And the second is that I think the customer made up a lot of the vibe in any restaurant or bar. So when the behavior of your customer change, do you feel like it changed the concept of your own bar? And how do you feel about those change? The difference in the vibe, the customer, and the way they behave when they come to your bar.
That's interesting. Your question makes me think I should change the way I run Tadioto to actually reconsider the concept. The problem with Tadioto is I set it up in a way that I cannot change it or duplicate it. If I was to build another Tadioto, it wouldn't be Tadioto. And that's one of the problems. And I need to be more flexible. So what I do now is I rely on the staff, because they are the ones that are up front with the customers. They know who the customers are. I used to know everybody, and I don't anymore. I can't drink anymore as I used to in the bar. But I have to know from the staff who's drinking what, what they are asking for, whether they drink more cocktails or more beers or more wine, and adapt a little bit to it. But it's a lot of work to figure out, and it's a lot of work to understand customers who change quite a bit.
Yeah, because you wasn't present like you used to be, and you have to rely on the staff more to understand how the customer change, how they behave, and to adapt or just with their behavior. Is that right?
Yes, that is a problem of somebody as ambitious as I am in opening new places. I like to set up places. If I can put it in a more positive way, I think what I do is to create places that are different, that are more welcoming in certain ways. When everybody's opening big bars, complicated, sophisticated bars, I actually want to do more simple places. And I travel and I go look at places like in Kyoto and how small the bars are and how simple yet very refined. And I want to bring a little bit of it. I like to say that I like to contribute some calmness to Hanoi, because Hanoi is a very energetic, passionate, and youthful place. And in fact, I create places that are less so. So then, because I'm ambitious with all of that, I don't get to stay in one place or spend that much time at Tadioto, or I come in when it's calm and I work on things at Tadioto, and then I leave before the customers come in and I run to another place.
I agree. From what you described, I think that's exactly what's missing from Hanoi nightlife. I think everyone is trying to get just a little bit louder, a little bit noisier, a little bit bigger, a little bit grandiose. But for a place to be calm, to be very, like you said, to be very small, focused, and refined in the nightlife scene in Hanoi, I think that's actually still lacking.
I was quite happy that a friend of mine who opens restaurants throughout Vietnam came into the motorsan that I have in the old quarter.
Yeah.
And he said it's it's just too calm in here. But since then, I noticed that a lot of young couples come in because of the lighting, because of the music, and because of the way the staff introduce themselves and work with the customers. The customers are quieter, and they come and they look for that kind of quietness. It may be a little bit less of customers, but we prefer that kind of customers who are quiet, who come in, have a really good conversation, book a table in a corner and sit quietly and talk to each other. I miss that. I'm too old to want something really vibrant, and I miss that. I spent the whole day yesterday looking for soundtracks of quiet ambience of streets in London, Jaipur, Calcutta, but quieter, to make the background sound for the new restaurant Portmanic up in Jupat, because I don't want music. I don't want distracting stuff. I just want something in the background that's quiet enough where people can come and talk and have a meal and enjoy themselves.
From what we share, I think I can trust that we are in good hand when we come to any place that you open, because you want to create that calm ambience that you yourself looking for. From me, from my own personal experience, I also believe that get together, have a real connection, have a real conversation is the whole point of going out to get food or get a drink. You can just easily do that everywhere. You can eat at home, but when you go out to meet with other people and actually sit with them, that's actually a very special chance for you to talk, to communicate, to be together, maybe just eat together in silence, but not each looking at their phone and then be completely silent and not connected at all.
I was shocked and rather rude. A few years ago at a New Year's dinner at Tadioto, there were like 8 people at this table sharing that last minute of the year and welcoming the new year. And right at midnight, all 8 people were on their phone wishing Happy New Year to people elsewhere. They weren't talking to each other. where I grew up, that's the time to kiss the next person, your loved one, right there in front of you. And I said, what are you doing? Why are you on the phone? I was rather rude, but it shocked them into thinking, why are we together in a place and not have a conversation? And that actually influenced me a lot. And from going to Tokyo or Kyoto, finding a bar that only has 10 seats, where people are sitting next to each other, obligated to have eye contact, to talk to each other, I find that really great, wonderful atmosphere. The way that Chung Dining and Richard here have gone to the bar, was a place where you could sit and talk. Last night at Wang Bao Wine, my wine bar, there were about 6 people. We all talked to each other. We all learned from each other. The night before, the ambassador from Holland came in and spoke 6 languages. It was fascinating to talk to people. And I never saw anybody last night or the nights before turning to their phones for anything.
That's precious. I think that's exactly what's missing. And now, for the last question I'd like to ask you, I think you'll be the most suitable person to give us an answer to it. That I think the F&B scene is ever changing. It's always changing. It's always coming up with the next thing, the next trend, the next food, the next drink that everyone has to try. So what do you think that stay throughout all the year? What's the things that doesn't change, the thing that stay, that we need to hold on to keep working in the F&B industry?
Well, I think this kind of conference, I think throughout the day today, you'll be discussing these sort of changes, these sort of approaches to reaching out to customers, building restaurants and bars and F&B places. And you'll discuss that. I think one of the things we're also struggling with is the post-COVID time, where we made no money and a lot of us had to close down. And I closed down my restaurants and bar in Vien. But it helps me to concentrate on doing a better job. And then we have to deal with new behavior. I personally don't go out very much anymore because I got used to ordering food. Now with Grab, with everything, I just order it. At the wine bar now, we have customer coming in and they're asking us, can you do home tasting for us? Can you order these wines for us? Can you come to our homes? And people do that a lot. We have to adjust to that. I think the next step is how to get people back out on the streets. At the end of March, the police are supposed to stop the breathalyzer, not measuring your alcohol anymore. But that's also changing attitudes among the people that are running bars and restaurants. I do see a lot of couples coming into Tadioto asking for orange juice and other juices in the evening, which I think is great. We have to be aware of what we do as drivers, as consumers. There are changes that I know I have to think about, and I'm sure you'll be talking about it today, as to what to do next. It's astounding to find out how many bars have opened in Hanoi in the last 6 months after the COVID and the reopening of Hanoi and of that, of tourism. I wish them all and myself good luck in the next 6 months to a year, because it's still a very difficult time.
And now, what advice do you have for them to stay on and survive? What did you do that you think everyone can learn from and apply?
Far be it from me to give advice to anybody. If anybody wants to give me advice as how to keep Tadioto going for another 2 months, I would appreciate it. Every month, I think of closing Tadioto because the rent is high. I don't own the building. And I'm constantly talking to the landlord and saying, hey, look, can you help me out this month? Can you help me out that month? Stick with it, and be personally involved. Take care of the place. Take care to renew your place. And what you suggested earlier, to not only follow the trends, but really care about your customers. And I try to remind the staff of that all the time. It's not because I tell them what to do. It's about what the customers need and what the customers want. And if you do that and you take care of your staff, you'll be successful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was very inspiring and insightful. Thank you. It was wonderful to have you here with us.